Adefola Tomiwa, a member of the Lagos Wetland Advocacy Group, and welcome to this year's World Wetland Day themed Wetlands and Water. I hope you guys can hear me. The Lagos Wetland Advocacy Group, which was launched last year in 2020, it consists of the Lagos Urban Development Initiative and partner organizations. This is a group committed to advocating the protection of wetlands in Lagos. Our vision is to stop the encroachment on wetlands and ensure their protection in Lagos. The means by which we have achieved this and still are is through public engagement, public-private collaboration, and community campaigns. Our first social media wetland campaign started in August 2020 and ran to the month of September. Our goal was to communicate vital information to the general public about wetlands in Lagos, wetlands in Nigeria, and their importance. The campaign activities included interviews, a podcast, and a published article. More than 40,000 people were reached through our various online platforms. We also conducted an interministerial meeting which saw the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and private practices in attendance. This meeting reiterated the need for public-private collaboration and the enforcement of laid out policies as it relates to wetlands in Lagos. Lastly, the group carried out a community campaign at Oronshoki in Kosofe local government area in Lagos State. This was a rewarding and enlightening session as we were able to communicate with the individuals who bear the brunt of the consequences of wetland encroachment. This meeting also included a presentation by the Oworo Youth Foundation, which shed more light on the degree of vulnerability to flooding at various locations in the area. This was followed by a short documentary and series of photographs to aid the discourse. As we celebrate another World Wetland Day today, the Lagos Wetland Advocacy Group is not resting on its oars. This year, more than ever, we are committed to our goals to look forward to a more engaging year with the public, government authorities, and private practices. So I wish you all a happy World Wetland Day. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Tomiwa, for kind of bringing together the theme and also what the Lagos Advocacy Group have been doing. We're obviously a young group, as Tomiwa has explained. We started last year, but we have great members who have been advocating for the protection of wetlands for many years. So we have great members who have a lot of experience in this area. So we'll move straight on, and we have the first presentation by Adesuwa Obasuyi. Sorry, I keep messing up your name. She is a social development expert with over 9 years professional experience in operations, research, administration, and in the nonprofit, academic, and private and public sectors. She works as team leader and key expert in the design and implementation of environmental management and capacity building projects in various parts of Nigeria. In the areas of environmental institutional development, climate change, renewable energy, water, waste management, and sustainable development. She understands policy landscape and has built relationships with and advised policymakers, civil society, academia, and the private sector, Nigeria and beyond. She's currently the Climate Change Policy Manager at the British High Commission in Nigeria. So good morning, Ms. Adesuwa Obasuyi. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll stop sharing my screen and I think you can start sharing yours.
Okay. Hi, Olamide. Yeah, so you've murdered my name very much this morning.
I'm sorry, gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wetlands Day. My name is Adesuwa Obasuyi. I am the Climate Change Policy Manager at the British High Commission in Abuja. So I'm going to do a presentation. I have a few slides to share. So I will share that and take myself off the the camera so that we can concentrate on the presentation. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, it's an honor and a privilege for me to celebrate World Wetlands Day 2021 with you and to talk about how wetlands can help to address climate change, which is, one of the biggest crises facing the planet and humanity right now. So I'm here today on behalf of Sean Melbourne. Sean is the head of climate change and energy for West Africa, and I bring greetings from him and the British High Commission Nigeria team. Thank you very much to you, Olamide, and thank you to HEDA and the entire Lagos Urban Development Initiative team for putting together this webinar, and thank you to the participants who joined in today. We appreciate the good work that is being done by groups such as the Lagos Wetlands Advocacy Group to raise the awareness of wetlands. It shows that we're all acknowledging the key role that wetlands play in mitigating climate change and also providing a range of other benefits for nature and a number of communities in Nigeria. So I'm just going to go on to my first slide now. Is that visible now? Okay, great. Okay. So yeah, like some of us already know, today also marks apart from being World Wetlands Day, today also marks the date of the signing of the Ramsar Convention on Wetlands in 1971. Nigeria and UK are both signatories to that convention, and it aims to halt the global loss of wetlands and to conserve through proper management the ones that remain. So the Ramsar Convention is the only international treaty that is solely focused on wetlands, and it provides a platform for, I think, 171 parties now that are working together for wetland conservation and wise use, so that they can, provide data, provide advice, and then policy recommendations to realize the full benefits of functional wetlands, how they can be beneficial to nature as well as our society. The convention also ensures that benefits that these wetlands provide can contribute to meeting the UN SDGs, the Aichi biodiversity targets, the Paris Agreement on climate change, and various other related international commitments. Nigeria currently has 11 sites that are designated as wetlands of international importance, or also these are also known as Ramsar sites. And the total surface area, so Nigeria's own is about a million hectares thereabouts, but the total surface area, so you can see on this map now that these are the various Ramsar sites spread across the world, and the total surface areas of all this is about 254 million hectares, which is like that's like almost three times the size of Nigeria, to put that into context. And these also include lowland swamps. They include the popular mangroves, our freshwater swamps, and so on and so forth. And you know that these wetlands also host endangered and critically endangered species, such as the Niger Delta red Columbus monkey, which some advocacy groups in Nigeria are also working hard and trying to save. So wetlands host them, then they provide breeding sites for some birds. I'm sure you know that some birds seasonally migrate to some wetlands or some ecosystems to breed, and then they move away. So wetlands are very critical to the survival and stability of the population of those kind of birds. And people also live in the wetlands. Those of us from Niger Delta, I'm sure we know that people actually live and source their livelihoods from these wetlands. And I just want to also quickly point out that the theme for today's Wetlands Day is Wetlands and Water, which is very fitting because a lot of people, maybe the layman on the street still does, we hear me know, but the layman on the street does not know that we owe every drop of water we drink and use to wetlands because they ensure the supply of fresh water. But I'm sure Mr. Sulaimon, who is coming after me, will be able to touch more on this during his presentation. So I'll just move on to the next slide. So yeah, this is showing that in 2007, Nigeria was ranked among the 15, it ranked 5 among the 15 most mangrove-rich countries in the world, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization. Estimates then show that the most extensive area of mangroves are found in Asia, as you can see, Asia, South America, and in Africa, and 5 countries. So these top 5 countries with Nigeria accounted for 45% of all mangroves. So yeah, why wetlands? So I've already spoken a bit about this. People say, so I've heard people mention that if the rainforest, so people say rainforests are the lungs of the planet because because of the function, purification of air and all that they produce, that they provide. So if rainforests are the lungs of the planet, then wetlands are the kidneys. And this is because of the filtration and a lot of ecosystem services that they also provide. So wetlands are also critical organs for the planet. And they team with biodiversity. They provide homes, they provide hunting grounds for several species. Animals go there to hunt. And studies say that 40% of the world's species live in wetlands. And they also provide services like fisheries, which I just mentioned, tourism. Some wetlands, people go there people make money from visitors that come in to see, to watch birds, to see the various beautiful sights to behold in this wetlands ecosystem. There is shoreline stabilization, so wetlands also help to prevent floods from inundating the land areas, groundwater recharge, water purification, and they provide livelihoods and sustain economic development for nations, as you can see from this slide. They're also part of our natural infrastructure. They provide essential protection against environmental issues such as flood, such as droughts, such as pollution and climate change, because they capture and store carbon, but I'll get to that shortly. The problem though is that we have been losing wetlands. And these are the reasons why we are losing wetlands. I saw in the Lagos Wetlands Protection Report that Organetega shared with my team at the British High Commission that mangroves, which were in 7 area councils in Lagos lagoons in the 1980s, were now 4 in 2006. And this is 2021. So I wonder what their fates will be by 2030. I just want to quickly say that that was a very nice report, and by the way, and I recommend that if you haven't shared to participants on the call, I recommend that you also share with them so that they can take a look and see how each and every one of us can also get involved. So you can see here that I've put on sustainable development as one of the major threats to wetlands. You can see here in Nigeria, you see people digging canals to transport timber. You see people exploiting resources without even caring whether they go into extinction, without even caring about tomorrow, without even thinking about the future. So if I hunt the lions to death, will my children, get to benefit? Will my children even get to see those lions, or get to benefit from the ecosystems services that they provide? So there's extensive hunting, poaching, fishing. We overfish. We don't even care about the survival of what we are hunting or what we are doing. We just exploit. We just want to take for today and not really care about tomorrow. And on the other hand, we also have bush burning going on close to wetlands. We have dam construction in some areas. We have, people blocking river channels because of one reason or the other. And then in some cases, some areas completely take their waste. The waste is actually dumped into some of these wetlands, such as rivers and the lakes. And also not forgetting militancy. So ethnic militancy and insecurity is also one of those issues. That conflict is one of those issues that puts pressure on our wetlands and freshwater supplies. Also pollution. So you look at urban sewage and wastewater from agriculture. They all get into these water bodies, into the lakes. They are released, water is released from a number of factories and industries in Nigeria untreated into these wetlands. And this is aided, in some cases, you can see when I talked about bush burning earlier, bush burning and deforestation, you see sediments getting into these waters, getting into the lakes, getting into the mangroves, getting into the plants that try to survive, in these ecosystems. And this will disrupt the ecosystem. And oil spills as well are a major threat. I'm sure a lot of you have seen pictures, and you've seen pictures where birds, are dipped, in attempts to, you see oil spills, and you see birds in attempt to probably perch and maybe even catch fish to live. You see them drenched in that oil. And you can also see, in some cases, you see plastics found in the guts of marine animals. So all this is unsustainable, and it's also pollution. I should also add that, as well as being threatened by pollution, wetlands can also address pollution. Wetlands act as natural filters, which is why I call them the kidneys of the earth. They can help to remove pollutants from water, and they have the potential to remove up to, I think, 60% of heavy metals. They can trap these sediment runoff that I mentioned earlier, and they can eliminate up to, I think, 90%. Yeah, I think up to 90% of nitrogen. Yeah, so the third one, my third point is on invasive species. So invasive species such as taifa grass, which I have read reports on that taifa grass is the bane of Nigeria, of wetlands in some parts of Nigeria, because they compete with the native species in that area for food and space. And then they negatively hamper the productivity of all other species around them. They can reduce photosynthesis that goes on. They can disrupt food webs. They can disrupt ecosystem functions and the services that these habitats provide. And then finally, I put in here climate change. So yeah, climate change, nowadays we've seen all over Nigeria, people are clamoring and saying, oh, we need help because, rains don't come, especially the smallholder farmers. Rains don't come as they used to before, and we're having sea level rise and so on and so forth. So all these negatively impact wetlands, and they also impact the species that live in them, the frogs, the amphibians. You see that climate change impact will first of all they are one of the most vulnerable species to climate change. And I will talk about climate change and wetlands a bit more in my next slide. Yeah. So I'm sure most of us know that climate change is caused by the accumulation of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and so on and so forth, which is majorly due to our ways of generating energy, our agricultural systems, and pollution. Wetlands are both sources and sinks of greenhouse gases. And with disturbances such as the threats that I talked about just now, such as us converting them into developed areas, climate change interfering with rainfall patterns, and so on and so forth, you will see that the vegetation in these wetlands will begin to die off. They will begin to decompose. And in that process, they're releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is increasing global warming. On the other hand, if these wetlands are intact, they store and sequester carbon, and they become a solution to climate change. The mangroves, the wetlands, the swamp forests, and other ecosystems are very active and effective in pulling carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and they store it as carbohydrates in the tissues and the soil so that it cannot escape back into the atmosphere. And also, in terms of adaptation, wetlands are important to humans, to us, of course. They also support local communities, provide them with fish, provide them with shellfish, with ecosystem services which they are able to survive. When you talk about alternative livelihoods, we're looking to explore, instead of continuing to destroy these ecosystems, why don't we use them sustainably to also provide for our livelihoods, and so that our communities don't get flooded, we don't destroy to the extent that we are now at risk from these same ecosystems. So yeah, in some cases, the communities in Niger Delta, for instance, know how to use these wetlands to also to prevent floods and to cope with changing weather patterns and so on and so forth. So I'll go on to my next slide now. Yes, by November 2021, the UK will host COP26, which is the UN climate change conference, and that will be hosted in Glasgow. The climate talks will be the talks will be the biggest international summit that the UK has ever hosted. And the plan is to bring together, thousands of delegates, including heads of state, including climate experts, including youth, including business, all this that I have listed here will be brought together to agree on actions that will be used to tackle climate change, going forward, agree on a number of issues. And as hosts of COP26, the UK's core objectives to deliver what was agreed in Paris, the Paris Agreement, which are to reduce emissions, which are to mobilize finance, and which are to adapt to the impacts of a changing climate. So this will be done in three main ways. You can see I put them here. First of all, nationally determined contributions. So you ensure the UK will work to ensure that countries come forward with more ambitious nationally determined contributions, develop long-term strategies for net zero. Where are we currently? Where is each country currently? And then what is your roadmap for getting to net zero, which is where we all want to get to, so that we can avert the dangers of climate change. And also we want to drive international collaborations through the 5 COP26 campaigns, which are listed here now. They are nature, adaptation and resilience, clean energy transition, transport, and finance, not just finance, green finance. So wetland conservation comes under the nature campaign majorly. And under this campaign, the UK is working with Nigeria to create the enabling environment and that is key, enabling environment that is key to transitioning towards the sustainable use of nature. So let's make nature an ally in the fight against climate change instead of us trying to overexploit nature and thereby contributing more to global warming, because we know that healthy forests and wetlands can help to, of course, increase carbon storage and also reduce the risks of climate change and environmental degradation. So we already know that ecosystems such as wetlands can help to reduce emissions and mitigate climate change by also acting as natural carbon sinks. So it's a no-brainer. Why don't we take advantage and promote nature and nature-based solutions? So yeah, apart from the Ramsar Convention, Nigeria is also a member of several other initiatives on marine and nature. More recently, Nigeria joined the Global Oceans Alliance, the Commonwealth Clean Oceans Alliance, the Pledge for Nature, the Leaders Pledge for Nature, which the president signed on to last year, the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, the HAC. So all these initiatives aim to preserve and protect and restore restore nature, and including marine areas such as the mangroves, such as the wetlands, try to make sure that we don't overexploit them and we don't pollute them. And the UK is a strong supporter of the new United Nations Treaty for Conservation and Sustainable Use of Marine Biodiversity. Okay, so that's the BBNJ. So conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. So it is also a mechanism for the formation of marine protected areas in high seas. So not just the ones that are close to land, you also look at the high seas, how we can also protect, because there's a lot of overfishing that is going on there that some countries, do not even look further beyond the ones that are immediately around them to try to address. So the aim is to deliver marine areas that are more resilient to the impacts of climate change. In January, the UK, that's this January, the UK announced a commitment of at least £3 billion from the UK's existing commitment of £11.6 billion for international climate finance. So this money has been earmarked for climate change solutions, and that will protect biodiversity-rich land and marine, including ocean ecosystems, and support the livelihoods of people who live in the world's poorest countries over the next 5 years. So here, the Global Ocean Alliance, which I just mentioned earlier, so it's supposed to drive urgent action to safeguard the marine ecosystems. And Nigeria is already signed up to that. And the target is to save 30% of marine areas by 2030. So one of the means that that will be done through is the creation of marine protected areas. I'm aware that the federal government of Nigeria is making plans to create marine protected areas, so which will also complement the work of other stakeholders. If we have marine protected areas, then we can say, oh, this area is protected, so we can begin to tailor our advocacy, our action, our plans, to such areas. So we also have the UK Pact, which is the Pact is Partnering for Accelerated Climate Transitions. It's a £60 million flagship program, and part of the UK's commitment to international climate finance to tackle climate change. So there are 3 programs under the UK Pact: the bilateral program, which will soon start with Nigeria. There is the skill shares and secondments, and then there's the Green Recovery Challenge Fund. So the Green Recovery Challenge Fund, GRCF, launched last year, I think now. Yeah, so Nigeria was one of the countries that was eligible for the funding round that launched late last year, and there were calls for proposals under projects that want to address clean energy transition and nature-based solutions. So we created a lot of awareness around it through the UK and Nigeria social media handles, through word of mouth, through emails, and so on and so forth. A lot of Nigerian NGOs applied for the fund, so I wish them all the best. So the UK Prime Minister also announced the Blue Planet Fund, which, as the name suggests, is for the conservation of marine areas. So the fund will launch, is expected to launch later this year, to also protect communities from the impacts of climate change. And then just last week, I heard some excellent news that the Global Plastics Action Partnership is expanding to Nigeria. So the UK also has invested about £2.6 million into this initiative, and the aim is to improve the state of the environment and reduce plastic pollution, which is what we're always talking about, which is what we always want to see happen. So this fund will be aimed at, supporting Nigeria, through policy making, through capacity building, through technology transfer, to make sure that we can tackle the impacts of plastics in Nigeria and reduce plastic pollution. So there are a lot of others, but I'm sure I've already taken up most of my time, so I'll just hurry up. And this is the final slide. So I just wanted to say that we need to come together. We need concerted global efforts across board if we want to take transformative action on water and wetlands. We need to build on successes and additional momentum for successful COP26, for the Conference of Biological Diversity, CBD COP15, and for many, many years to come, even after these conferences I have held. And, championing and protection of these ecosystems will not be possible without the support of businesses, without the support of media, without the academia, without the youth group, without NGOs and civil societies. And I wish to acknowledge your work, people like you. And I want to say congratulations to you and your team on the success of your Lagos Wetland Protection Campaign. I hope you follow up and continuously push the message to stakeholders, not just in Lagos, but other parts of Nigeria, that we need to work together to make this year a turning point in our efforts to address wetland degradation so that we can secure our lives and fresh water. Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you so much, Adesuwa. That was fantastic. Thanks so much. Before I just go through what you presented, there were just some comments, and I think they were mainly about sharing the presentation. So I hope that will be okay, and having the presentation on full screen. But I could see everything, so I hope everybody could see it, though it wasn't on full screen. So thank you so much, Adesuwa. It was really interesting, your presentation. Just introducing, what are the wetlands, why they're important, the threats, and wetlands as a solution to climate change. It was really great that you mentioned about the role of the UK government in hosting COP26 and, really are trying to achieve the signed agreement in Paris, and also working with Nigerian government to make nature a way to fight climate change. We obviously believe this is very important because, as you mentioned, the wetlands are a solution, and all members of the advocacy group are doing something in regards to keeping our waterways clean, keeping our waterways accessible, and at Ludi, we are looking at keeping the waterways useful, because we also feel that by presenting it as a useful tool, it doesn't just go to waste, and no one sees it as something that is in the background there doing its job, but actually people can actually use it for recreation, for public space, and so on, and for farming as well, food security. So also you mentioned the fact that there's an agreement to protect 30% of marine areas. I think that's also fantastic. I think that was what you said, 30%. I think that was fantastic. And I hope that it will be achieved, and we will obviously want to be a part of that. So thank you so much, Adesuwa. So I'd like to introduce the next speaker, Mr. Sulaimon Arigbabu. I hope I didn't mess up your name. I'm so sorry if I did. He works with policymakers, academics, activists, women groups, farming communities, and young people to promote food security and sustainable development in the world. He works with others to advocate for appropriate policy response to climate and the national, state, and local government levels, as well as promote access to climate change information in Nigeria. He is currently the Executive Secretary at the Human and Environmental Development Agenda Resource Center. So, would you like to share your screen, or are you just going to speak to us?
Thank you, Oganetega. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let me fiddle with it. I hope I'm able to. Just a minute to dig out where I keep the file.
No problem.
Otherwise, I'm just going to forward my slide to you, and perhaps you could help to share from your end. Would that be fine, Ogene?
Yes, it's fine, but I'm Olamide, but yes, that's perfectly fine. We can do that. Yes, I can hear you. That's fine. You can share your screen.
Okay, so I'm forwarding. Okay, I'm trying to do that, but sorry, I think I missed out the email address. Could you please just mention your email address to me? I'm working on a double device here.
Okay, no problem. Tega, please, can you share that with?
No, I think just say the first name or something. I'll fish it out.
Ogene Tega.
Okay, don't worry, I've seen it. ludi.org.ng, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you see right
away. Okay, so should we wait for that? Okay, or you want to start while we get that?
I will start. I just want to one last ditch effort to. Otherwise, just let me share from your hand, and I'll just go ahead here. Okay, so good morning, dear colleagues.
Mr. Arigbabu, we can't hear you. Okay. I think you're back now. Yes. You're back now. Yes, this is better. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry for the little itch, please. And let me quickly commend Adesuwa for the presentation she made. It's been also helpful for me as well. I'm going to make a quick disclaimer that I'm actually recuperating, and I'm still battling with a bad cough. So once in a while, I might need to clear out my throat. But I'll try and quickly speak to my. Is the slide on now?
I haven't received it yet. I'm still waiting.
Oh, okay. I've sent it via email to you. Just give me 1 minute to show it.
No, it's okay. I've received it. Okay.
Have you seen it?
Okay, I received it now. I'm going to start sharing. Just give me a second to do that.
Hello? Okay, so good morning. While I wait for the slide to show, I can just start the conversation because this is really a conversation, and I want to thank everybody who's joined this conversation for taking our time to care about our world and our environment, particularly wetlands. My colleague has been kind enough to help me put up a couple of slides around my thoughts on this topic. And I think that it will be easier for you to understand what I'm saying, having listened to Adesuwa ahead of this conversation. So I hope that we find this session also helpful enough. The title of the slide is Water No Get Enemy. Yeah, that's the theme of a song by the late Afrobeat maestro Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who says, "Water no get enemy. You cannot fight water unless you want to die." The quick outline of the slide will be a little introduction, especially while we're talking about wetland, the nexus between wetlands and water, the threat that we're facing, and the impact of that threat, and then some ideas on how we can go around this, and what we are doing in our little way. Okay, Netega, should I continue? Can people hear me? Hello?
So I can hear you, yes, but I can hear you. Just to clarify, I'm not the one moderating. The person moderating is Olamide. I'm currently speaking. This is Tega, but Olamide is the one moderating, just in case you want to make a reference.
I think, Mr. Arigbabu, can you hear us? Okay, because we couldn't hear you. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Mr. Arigbabu, we can't hear you anymore. Again, lost you. Okay, we can hear you. You're on mute. It's very low. We can't really hear you.
Oh, okay. Is it any better now?
Yes, that's better. That's better. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I have to keep it close to. Are we able to share the screen or not, or should I just go ahead?
I'm sharing my screen.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully you see it. Can everybody see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm on the slide 4, I guess, or 3. I'm on slide 3, where I quoted, "We often do not think that one day we will run out of potable water. But I know that in many communities, this is now a reality. Perhaps us city dwellers, because we are able to call on the cart pusher to get us water, we do not pay attention to the looming threat of not having access to potable water. But it's something we need to give a second thought about. And in introducing this conversation, we say that wetlands are what we, here in Nigeria, we call wetlands swamps. And that's why we refer a lot to the Niger Delta area and parts of the Southwest as well, parts of Ondo, Ogun, and Lagos states. So those areas that we usually refer to as swamps are actually part of the wetland assets of Nigeria. So a wetland is a transition between dry land and deep water. And Adesuwa has actually done a lot of explaining on some of the importance of this. So the Niger Delta area is a major wetland. It's the largest in West Africa, actually. And 60% of inhabitants depend directly on the services provided by wetlands, such as fishes, clean drinking water, livelihoods. Beyond going to fish, there are many utensils that we make use of that are coming from resources around the wetland areas. So if you go to somewhere around the Ikorodu, for instance, you see that the people do a lot of mat knitting because they have a wetland that is rich in the grasses that are used for that, and so many other things that we derive, from. So some people derive their livelihoods from wetland. So why is wetland important? Why do we need to talk about this? Wetlands are important because we need them to maintain surface water flow during dry period. They reduce the impacts of floods by storing flood water. They absorb pollutants, and that has been extensively mentioned in the previous conversation. They provide habitat for animals and plants. So quite a major percentage of species of animals and plants in our ecosystem reside around the wetland or rely on the wetland for their survival. Wetlands are also the basis for, there is the FADAMA program in Nigeria. We have had FADAMA 1, 2, and 3. This was a World Bank initiative designed to help farmers who live around wetlands. So you have it in northern states, you have also in the southern states. Although the program was extended beyond those who live directly around wetland, but that, the conceptualization, was to be able to take advantage of the water body around these people and help them to cultivate, to farm, to keep animals in a sustainable way that helps to keep the environment intact. So you look at also the Adesuwa and Guru wetland constitutes an important feeding ground for various migratory birds. And almost about 1.5 million farmers, herders, and fishermen depend on the wetlands for their livelihood. One of the outcomes of several results, several research around conflict analysis in Nigeria is that the disappearing of wetlands up north is a major reason why we are having this resource constraint conflicts down south, because herders, not only herders, workers, young people are migrating down south looking for other opportunities. Young, able-bodied men who would otherwise have stayed around the Lake Chad, around Adesuwa, Nguru, around many other areas where we have rich water and land resources, to practice profitable agriculture, are forced to come down south because we are fast losing these resources. So this also underscores the importance of wetland for us. The nexus, therefore, between wetland and water, and this is slide 6. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be telling the slide number so they can move along with me. This is slide 6. So one of the most important benefits that wetlands provide is their capacity to maintain and improve water quality. And that came out in the earlier conversation. Because when they are healthy, wetlands have a rich natural diversity of plants and animals that act as filter system, that helps to remove sediments, remove some other pollutants. Although we are overwhelming their capacity to do that now because we are introducing some heavy chemicals, that rather than the wetlands filtering them, the wetland itself is being destroyed, as a result of some of the effluents that are coming out from our unregulated industrial activities. So the capacity of wetlands to maintain and improve water quality is, just a minute, please. I have a small technical issue. So the capacity of wetlands to maintain and improve water quality is under threat because human activities and extreme weather conditions have had a significant impact on water flow, nutrient balance, and biodiversity of the wetlands. I'm going to zero this conversation to what we have, especially here in Nigeria and Lagos in particular. But I just want to give the general framework of this slide so that we can merge it with what we learned earlier from Adesuwa. So what are the threats? In slide 7 now, in Nigeria, increasing population pressure, rapid urbanization, oil and industrial waste pollution, uncontrolled tilling of the soil for crop production, overgrazing, logging, land reclamation, construction of dams, roads, and other infrastructure. These are some of the things we wreck with our own hands. If you look at in Lagos, a massive sand filling is going on across different coastal areas of Lagos. We are all aware of the Ilubiri development somewhere along the Adeniji Adele as you want to go on to Kata Bridge. Massive reclamation of wetland. And when you cross the Third Mainland Bridge to the Oworo side, you also see that there's been a massive reclamation of land. And what we do by this is that we sand fill the wetland, and we destroy their habitat for all the animals. It's either the animals die or some of them go to other places, which might not be favorable to them. So we lose this resource. And what you then have is that Lagos starts to witness unprecedented levels of flooding, flooding that beats recorded history for the city. These are some of the things we wreck with our own hands. And it's not only government that is doing, of course, government gives permission for these things to be done. If you drive along the Ojota Ogudu axis from Third Mainland Bridge inward to K2, all the land to your right, even to the left, a lot of them are built on reclaimed. And even right now, you still see that those places where you expect that we will live for the water, we have put signboard there. This land belongs to the Nigerian police estate. This land belongs to this. So meaning that we see that area as just some place to give some path for water. So we are looking at a small canal-like water body, and every other thing around it, we are building up, we are filling up. And this is a big error. The essence of that space is such that it acts as a shock absorber. Aside from other ecosystem services that is providing for us, it is the shock absorber for Lagos when major flooding looms. But the more we remove all of that, it's just that you put the water in a bowl and then you start to put other heavy things in that bowl. Of course, what we are calling for is that the water will spill over. And the spillover is the experience that Lagos, unfortunately, has. It's not only that is affecting the wetland, we are also having impact of climate change, marine and coastal erosion, subsidence. Ocean water intrusion is also a major threat, for our wetlands. And of course, and this was also mentioned by this, the invasion of invasive species, in the wetland. And up north, desertification and drought are major threats, to the wetland. And the impact of this, of course, slide 8. There is the socioeconomic impact, loss of revenue from wetland, loss of income, livelihood of communities are destroyed. The health, because nature provides different kinds of services for us, including health. So people around wetlands know grasses that when they know plants that when they cook, it cures one thing, one ailment or another. All of this we lose when we destroy the wetland. We lose a lot of biodiversity, and of course, people who ordinarily cannot afford the cost of going to hospitals for treatment, who have relied on nature as their doctor, lose the opportunity of this caring service of nature. Loss of revenue from this speaks to a lot to Niger Delta. A major cause of destruction of wetland is from gas flaring, is from petroleum extraction, is from illegal refining, is from bunkering, and all sorts of things that put pressure on the environment. Now, all of this, if we did right, not only would we save money from them, but we will also prevent such being an offshoot of why we lose natural resources, because people who need to cook will have to depend on wood from the forest, from the wetland area as well. But if we could stop, for instance, gas flaring in Nigeria, and we're able to pipe the gas, to every home, not only will we be saving the lives of over 95,000 to 120,000 women that are reported to die annually from indoor air pollution, but we'll also be able to save our environment, have the preponderance for getting sick will be largely reduced. Pollution from oil spills and gas flaring, lots of important biodiversity, poorly planned infrastructure and development. This last point about poorly planned infrastructure, I will not even call it poorly planned. I will just say we simply do not plan. We simply fail to plan. So if you want to build a house around the wetland, you don't need to go to government. And if you doubt me, there is a green belt from somewhere in Ogun State that runs through Lagos State. It goes through Maryland, goes through Ikeja. You will see it when you are crossing from Maryland to Ojota, where those people do cane art, where they weave cane. Now that green belt falls right directly into the lagoon. Now, if you take a walk along that belt, you realize that it is 60% gone. People have built houses indiscriminately. If you go through the Okpebi link bridge, you want to link from Okpebi to Kudirat Abiola way. What's the name of that place? You want to link from Okpebi to that side that takes you to Ojota, that takes you to Alausa, that link bridge. Just stay on that link bridge, look to your left and to your right, and you see that the only space you have left is just a small channel for water to go by. But every other thing has either been built up, be turned to a mechanic workshop or a dump site. So this is the way we have dealt with wetland in this part of the world. Some of the suggested solutions in slide 9, we're thinking first in terms of government policy. Nigeria needs to designate more areas as wetland, especially in the Niger Delta area. We need to repopulate the areas we have designated in the Ramsar list. Nigeria also needs to improve and implement current available policies on wetlands, including the CITES. We also need to declare a state of emergency on wetland and water. If government does this, naturally citizens will key in. Of course, sometimes, and as it is now, the advocacy has to come from interested groups, from aware group, and that's why we need to keep raising the awareness. So that brings me to the responsibility of CSOs. We need to increase citizens' awareness. We need to tell compelling stories about wetlands. We need to build capacity of citizens to engage relevant authority. We need to touch the point of empathy of citizens who may not necessarily be living around wetlands. But the most important thing is that we need to help everybody to draw a connection. Even if you live very far, you live in the towers somewhere in Lagos, you are still benefiting from ecosystem services that this wetland provide for us, and you are endangered when we no longer have these services. So we need to increase our advocacy towards private sector. We also need to increase advocacy to discourage private sector and government from the actions that destroy the wetlands. Citizens need to make demands. Citizens sometimes can also demand for prosecution of defaulters, protect wetlands from plastic, and this is more important. We need everybody to see how this connects to them. We need to be able to let somebody living in Agege know that the piece of pure water sachet or the bottled water, the PET bottle that you drop on the street there in Agege can get to the wetland and destroy it, can get to the lagoon, can cause a whole lot of problem, you know, as we have seen over time anyway. Private sector needs to be encouraged to conduct their business more responsibly, to support actions that protect wetlands, to support local communities, empower local communities to actually protect this wetland, and sign and uphold the private sector sustainability pledge. For us in HEDA, aside from working with communities, aside from raising awareness about climate change issues, aside from also working with government to see how existing policies could be implemented or better policies made, especially in Lagos, quite over time. But we also do public interest litigation because we think that it's a potpourri of engagement, both adversarial and consultative, that can, you know, that can bring the desired change. So what we for instance, we are in court in and outside of Nigeria with Shell over Shell and Eni over the OPL 245, where some communities have been completely shortchanged of resources, of any benefit of the oil resources from them. Even Nigeria as a country has been shortchanged. We are also filing, currently as we speak, we are filing some actions in the Nigerian courts against the oil multinationals who continue to flare gas. And we are going to be joining the Nigerian government in that, because the Nigerian government has consistently shifted the goalposts. Severally have we reached the deadline for stoppage of gas flaring in Nigeria, and the federal government find an excuse to shift the goalpost. And this is even more worrisome when you know that Nigeria submitted NDC, which has been approved that's our nationally determined contribution to reduction of emission. And one of the key 5 areas that we say we are going to be cutting our emission, where we are a major world polluter, is in gas flaring. It's a big contradiction that we are an energy poor country in terms of utilizing energy for our industry, for our domestic use. We are an energy wasteful country in terms of how we use even the ones, for instance, how we flare gas, how we use our electricity. And we have a huge potential, because if we are able to take care of the energy problem, this country will blossom. Of course, if we fix other issues like corruption and what have you. So these are some of the thoughts around wetlands. Just to help us to visualize, and this is my concluding statement. So the wetlands areas in Lagos is quite extensive, because Lagos is a coastal city. But there are those that you might unknowingly even go to buy land and develop, not knowing that you are being part of the problem. So there are axes around the Lekki Ajah area, especially if you are going along Lekki on the bridge to Ekpe. To your left and to your right, any development there on that bridge is destroying the wetland. The same thing if you are going through Ikorodu to Ijebu axis, before you get to, you will even see Lagos State signboard along the line saying that this is a protected area. But all the land around that place have been sold by families to private developers. So Lagos is just merely put, even the signboards have been overgrown by grasses. So there are quite many places. So we need to inquire before investing in any development. We need to get to appropriate authorities, the Ministry of Land, Ministry of Environment, the Surveyor General's Office, to be sure that the place where you want to develop is not a wetland. And even if it is, there are kind of developments that would complement and not destroy. So this will be my point on this matter. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Sorry, we have to stop now so that we can get some questions, if there are any. And maybe while people are putting together their questions, I can just quickly summarize. Thank you so much, Mr. Arigbabu, for the presentation. It was fantastic. You really took off from where Adesuwa started, which was really about linking security. Sorry about that. Linking wetlands to food security and migration, improving water quality, the role of the wetlands as an improver for water quality and filtering as a filtering system. You also touched on the threats of losing the wetlands, for example, rapid urbanization and their reclamation of land, and also the impact, the social and environmental impact. And then, which was really great to me, on solutions. What can we do? As we heard from Adesuwa, the COP26 is something which looks at government and policy. And you also mentioned things like what the government needs to do is designate wetlands and also make it known to the public where the wetlands are and record it on the Ramsar list. And really kind of focus on the fact that we are in a state of emergency when it comes to issues such as wetlands and the preservation of wetlands. And we also mentioned about the role of the CSO, which is increasing awareness, advocacy, really trying to demonstrate the fact that this affects you personally and not just something that is in the background somewhere. And then also you talk about citizen action. Again, we need to understand that as citizens that live in cities, in countries, in nations, on continents. And then also the responsibility of the private sector, which I think we sometimes overlook as well. I know there's currently discussion about plastic waste and responsibility. The companies, the drinking companies or the drinks companies, and taking responsibility for their plastic waste. So kind of getting them on board to sign and uphold a sustainability pledge. I think that's very important. And lastly, you talked about what you are doing at HEDA and what, especially around litigation and pollution against oil companies. So thank you so much. That was really motivational and quite interesting in regards to so many things. So there are a couple of comments in the comments. So I'll read in the chat section. So I'll read that, and then if anybody wants to ask any questions to both speakers, please do raise your hand, and then we can ask questions. We have about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll have some closing comments as well. So I'll just read through some questions. Mr. Abdul Salam Ashare says, please share your contact. There's a lot of gas flaring happening in my area. So I think he really wants to reach out to you in regards to how can they stop that happening in his area. And then from Tony Oshaniwa, who asked here, do you think we need a wetlands protection law? So maybe I will start with Adesuwa. Maybe do you think we need, because I know you also have a lot of policy background, you have a policy background. Do you think we need a wetlands law? And I think he's specifically talking about Nigeria.
Hi. Well, Yes, we do. So we are signatory to the Ramsar Convention, which provides a framework and provides recommendations, policy recommendations on what we can do regarding protection of wetlands in Nigeria. So yes, I think we need a wetlands law. Specifically, though, I will have to check. I will have to check if we actually have something, because I think we do have something that covers the protection of such ecosystems already. But I'll have to check again so I don't make any errors. But if we don't, of course, we do need a wetland law that will provide guidance on the use against conversion of these wetlands to development areas, just like Mr. Sulaimon particularly stressed on in his presentation. But I'm sure he will also have some more to add to this. Of course, I'm in agreement that we do need a wetlands law. So I'll just hand over to Mr. Sulaimon now if he has further information on that. Over.
Okay, should I go ahead?
Yes, please, go ahead. Yes, please, go ahead, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I do concur that we need a wetland law. I know that Lagos State has a policy that is it has worked on for quite a while now. I'm sure perhaps Tony or Shaniwa can bring us up to speed with this, but I know that we did work on this with Lagos State some time back, and it went through the process of policy making. I cannot now say whether it was presented to the parliament. But yes, and also one thing we do realize is that there are quite a number of policies scattered around various documents, both at the state and national levels. Of course, a number of them need upgrades. I'll give you, for example, so you look at the Land Use Act, which says that if you cut a tree, a commercial tree, you pay 20,000 naira. I mean, you pay 20 naira. This was made in 1978. So still using such a law today is crazy. A few years back, when the Lekki Road was being made, we have a group we call the Lagos Environmental Sanitation Network, and we approached the concessionaire to say, look, we have cut down a lot of trees, and let's work together to get a small green corner and plants. When they look at the cost of that, they simply called our bluff and said, no, we would rather go and pay 20 naira to government. So quite a number of these laws definitely needs review. But we do need a wetland protection law with that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arigbabu. Does anybody have any more questions? Or Tony, do you want to say something about what's available in Lagos and maybe what's available nationally in regards to wetland protection policy laws?
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. Just as Mr. Sulaimon mentioned, it was during the last administration in Lagos State that we did add the policy review on wetland. But I must say that has already been kept aside for now. So I think we need more advocacy to bring it back alive to see what can be done. But so far, it was just review and it was done. So that's what I can say for now. But there are also, just as Mr. Sulaimon mentioned, there are a lot of scattered policy all around that mention some few strategies or things that can do to protect the wetland.
We've lost you. Tony, we've lost you. I hope it's him and not me. Okay, I guess we've lost you. I hope everybody else can still hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I was worried it was me. Okay, great. Hopefully Tony can come back on in a bit and just talk to that. But it sounded like There is a policy or a draft law, but it hasn't been signed into law, hasn't been agreed by the House as a law that people should follow. And and Mr. Arigbabu was mentioning about the fact that we need to review some of the laws. And I think those are also very important things to do, especially in this day and age, because some of them are quite outdated. And then it doesn't help CSOs, NGOs, other organizations to advocate for such changes if, private sector or even other individuals can go ahead every day and not be affected by those by the changes that need to happen. Okay, so do we have any other questions? Okay, Ms. Obasuyi said that she will check if there is any law in the works at the FME, and that a major issue is implementation. Yes, I think we're all aware that there are even a lot of policies and information, but the implementation is always, well, usually, not always, is usually where there's some disparity between what the law says and what is implemented, or what the project is and what is implemented. So it's something that, yes, we definitely also have to advocate for as individuals, as organizations, and as non-profit organizations and CSOs as well. Okay, I think we have another question which is just asking about will the recording be available? Yes, it will be available. We will upload it once we've downloaded the information, and we'll share the link with everybody that's here. So does anybody else have any questions? Yinka, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Olamide. And thank you to everybody that had, to all the speakers. I just want to, just in line with what somebody mentioned, the fact that, implementation is an issue. I just want to say that I don't think there is, and I would like the speakers also, or any other person to comment on this also. I don't think there is the political will really to carry this through. I mean, it seems to me, it's a perception, I might be wrong, that the government actually is like, there's a conspiracy sort of between the government, if I can say, use that word, between the government and the real estate actors to kind of, I don't know, perhaps because of the nature and the nature and the value of land in Lagos. It's like there's this alliance, this unholy alliance between the government or the bureaucrats, the lawmakers, and also the real estate developers to kind of just destroy this ecosystem, to destroy our wetlands, because for them it's about money. So because these are the people that are actually very important in the process of policy, in the process of making policies and implementing and enforcing. But when there is this unholy alliance among these people, I don't know, is there really hope, or are we just, because this issue actually is supposed to be a front burner issue, but what we see is that it's actually at the back and nobody's actually talking about it. Even, the relevant authorities or bodies are actually paying lip service to it. Nothing is being done. We've been on this for decades, yet nothing. Things are getting worse. So is there really a political will, and what can we do actually to kind of make these relevant institutions to kind of act? That's just my concern, my fear, and also my my question as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inka. I will try to summarize so that the speakers can answer the question. So I think the question is there a conspiracy between government officials, government body, and the landowners, developers, in regards to taking over the wetlands? Because this is one major issue when it comes to preserving the wetlands. And we see the wetlands disappearing, at a rapid rate due to one of these major factors, especially in Lagos. I don't know about other states in Nigeria. So is there a conspiracy? And if so, what can we do to break this way of thinking? So maybe we'll start with Mr. Arigbabu this time. I'm just asking you to unmute. Okay. Oh. Please try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think just like many other things that plagues our country, there's no political will to address it. Let's be frank with ourselves.
We've lost you. Okay. You're back
Hello?
again. You're back again.
Okay. Some could be educated to the level of PhD, but does not mean that they have the right education about environment, about sustainability. So perhaps this is part of what we need to find a way to provide more education for those who aspire to be in positions of leadership. The issue of lack of will is there because, of course, government needs to balance between what people need. People need housing, people need food. That's true. But there is a way we can use our resources, available spaces, in a more sustainable manner, in a way that will leave those parts that should be protected. Because one thing we have learned is that concrete, brick and mortar solutions do not address the services that nature provides for us. However, the way especially Nigeria is constituted, the way our laws are, which vest massive powers in government, and also the idea where families own land and they can decide when to sell it, is a major problem. So where you go to Ministry of Agric and they tell you that, oh, their own designated land have been taken over by Ministry of Lands to sell to developers. You go to Ministry of Environment and they tell you that their own designated lands, their protected land, have been taken over by Ministry of Agric for cultivation. So within the same government, I mean, I'm talking Lagos, I'm not even going outside of Lagos, you are finding this kind of contradiction and conflicts, working at cross purposes. So what then do you expect when you go down to the local government or when you escalate it to the national level? So there's a lot of lack of proper education amongst people. I'm not saying they are not educated. I'm not saying they don't have PhD in this and that, but education about the environment, about how we need to keep the environment for it to keep providing us services is not so much there. And we also need to tie the hands of policymakers with appropriate laws. So if somebody gives approval for a development in a place that is a designated wetland, for instance, there should be consequences. If there are no consequences, the problem will keep repeating itself. That's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to read some comments and a question for Mr. Obasuyi. Okay, so the last comments here from Mr. Oke Olumuyiwa, who is from the Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture, says collaboration and partnership with NGOs, private sector, multinational companies, international companies are needed in achieving food security and sustainable agricultural development. And he also asked a question that Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture has lots of wetlands and the potential is being harnessed to enhance food security. We need to do more. How can the international communities assist in accessing the climate change finance funds and support for agricultural value chains with our wetlands?
Hi. Hi, Olamide. Yeah, so it's Obasuyi. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get it right. Stop this.
That's fine.
Please go ahead.
for me, first of all, I'll, on the question that was asked before, usually in Nigeria, you see the choice is always between development and the environment. So it's more like we're asked to choose, it's either you develop at the expense of the environment or nothing at all. When it is that you can actually do both, if you design your urban areas, correctly, appropriately, you can use these wetlands to avoid environmental impacts. We're talking about seawater inundation, we're talking about flooding. Lagos is one of the most at risk states in Nigeria to flooding. And you can use these ecosystems to actually buffer up the state, to buffer up the areas, and then if you have an area that's where your immediate ecosystem is well taken care of, the mangrove areas, the wetlands, and so on and so forth are well taken care of, you are increasing the property value in that area. You're making it safer for your children, you're making it safer for your family, and so on and so forth. So usually we always say we place the environment, it's either this or that, and when it could be the environment and development going side by side to achieve sustainability, which is what we want. So on the question about the international communities assisting in accessing climate finance, so there are a lot of funds out there. There have always been a lot of funds out there. So what we noticed here in Nigeria is that Nigeria is usually not able to access this money because of some technical issues, and also there's this issue of how well are you also utilizing what you have, but on helping to access, now the UK government has thankfully recruited a climate finance advisor to the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Environment. So this person is going to be the bridge between accessing the UK's accessing climate finance and then bringing it home to us in Nigeria. And he's already working on that. He has started making progress, and we hope to see that within the next 1 year, more and more government agencies, more and more government bodies are getting access to these monies for whatever it is they want to do. And I also want to urge that we should all become more joined up in how we work in Nigeria. The Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Agriculture, let's begin to interagency collaborations, because I tell you, there's some things happening at the federal level here in Abuja, which are not, being, so I don't know how to exactly say this, but so there's this sustainable land use and commodity trade dialogue that the UK is facilitating, that is now, it's going to be launched today, as is now going to be called the Forests, Agriculture and Commodity Trade Dialogue, the FACT dialogue. So that dialogue aims to, promote sustainable agriculture. It aims to promote sustainable value chains, sustainable supply chains, and so on and so forth, and states are also supposed to be a part of this. They're supposed to be joining the conversation. So I want to urge that the State Ministry of State Ministry of Agriculture, the State Ministry of Environment, all the state parastatals should join up more with the federal, or the federal should join up more with the state. So this is just coming from me, though, personally. They should join up more for more cooperation, for more collaborations, for more cooperations, for more exchange of information and information sharing, which would be highly beneficial. So that when we talk about, there's this program that the UK is supporting to Nigeria, all other states are aware and can get involved. So that's just what I can say to that question. And it also trickles down to food security. It also trickles down to wetlands and and so on and so forth. Yeah, over.
Great, thank you so much. So I think we're going to have to wrap up there. And we've had some really great questions and answers as well from the panelists, and comments from those who have joined as well. Thank you so much. Before I say all the thank yous, we have some closing remarks from Tosin Oshiniwa. He's the founding and executive director of Nature Cares Resource Center and Soil Food Niger Limited. He's a coordinator of the Lagos State West African Network for Peacebuilding Nigeria. He's a professional MBA fellow in sustainability management, and he has an MSc in agricultural geography, a postgraduate diploma in environmental management. Overall, he is an environmental and sustainability management research and consultant, providing training and consulting services to governments, CSOs, and private sector. And so just quick, sorry to, to make it quick, closing comments. And then I can thank all the speakers again.
Thank you, Olamide, for the wonderful CV you just read out. I guess I'll be moving forward to the British Council now. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this program. We really appreciate you for taking time to mark the World Wetland Day 2021. We want to thank especially Adesuwa Obasuyi. Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you again, and for the great work you have been doing, for helping us to look at the global perspective of wetland. What we can say is that please, as advocacy team, we think we need to look more into the policy and law that will help Nigeria. So please, if there are any opportunity the British Council want to support, we will appreciate more of reviewing the existing wetland laws and policy, which actually does not exist in Nigeria as such. And also I want to thank Mr. Sulaimon Arigbabu, our old colleague and senior colleague in this space. Thank you for bringing it back home from the global perspective to the local driven opportunities initiative of what we can do by various stakeholders. Especially, I'm going to be saying that we need to strengthen more of our wetland protection education. That's one of the points I'm picking from this talk. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this discussion. We wish you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, Olamide.
Thank you very much, Toyin. That was really great conclusion, good comments in terms of moving forward and what we can do as an advocacy group and as individuals here in Nigeria. Thank you again to the speakers. It has been fantastic having you. You're sharing your knowledge and information. Thank you to, again, the guests who have came on time and stayed throughout the whole process and the whole discussion. So thank you very much. As mentioned, we will, once the recording is downloaded, we will upload it and share the link to everyone that is here. And we have a couple of, can the speakers join the network? Please do join the network. We will invite you to join the network, the advocacy group. And Ms. Obasuyi said the British High Commission will be working closely with everyone to deliver on the COP26. So thank you again and have a lovely day. It's been fantastic commemorating World Wetlands Day. And so please be mindful that the wetlands are important to us as individuals, as a community, as a nation, as the private sector as well. And of course, as for the world. So thank you again and have a fantastic, fantastic day and week.
Bye. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just
Thank you
going to
and
my
bye-bye.
video. Yeah, thank you.
I got your name in the end, Obasuyi.
Yes, Obasuyi. Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.